So Michael Webb is an editor, a musician, a nomad, technologically inclined editor with lots of facilities at his disposal. A very interesting and rich life so far. Michael, do you want to tell me anything about what you're working on right now, currently, creatively? And we'll go from there.
Well, I guess the most current thing is checking out some new strings. I play guitar, right? Been playing guitar under the name Duct Taped Goat for the last 20 years now. But I just get in the mode of every couple of years, put it down. Usually get enough to cut up an album, and yeah. So I picked up some new strings the other day. I think there's some hybrid slinkies, and they got these new Cobalt 4 strings. So I'm checking that out. Got to get new batteries and everything, get the whole setup geared out, but it's pretty good,
Yeah, so you have a multi-functioning mobile creative studio.
That's a pretty accurate way of saying it. That's the goal, is 100% functional mobile studio. But ultimately it comes down to real estate. Like, I at this point do not have the facilities for a full drum set. Couldn't happen. It takes so much real estate to live, work, and try to produce music.
You've been editing a lot of projects for me and saving my ass on a lot of stuff. If you guys want to see that, check out my films at brettwoods.com. Michael was the edited angel for a lot of my projects that were kind of sitting in limbo for a while and needed that extra master class of, like a real edit. So I appreciate that. And we became friends out of that. And tell, because it seems like van life is more prevalent than ever. I know Tom Green just took his show on the road with his dog and just did the Rogan show last night with his camper vehicle that he's got all teched out. Give us because I've had people that want to talk to you about technically the do's and do nots of what you found in creating this environment on wheels for yourself to basically do and go anywhere you want.
The biggest learning curve, honestly, the most difficult curve is the curve in the street. Right now, we've got the traffic behind me, and the whole media wall is on the sidewalk side, right? So the whole van is leaning this way. And the grade of different roadways is a different lean into the sidewalk. So no matter how perfect, everything's aligned and you got the level and, in the garage, it makes sense. I never had the garage to... Yeah, it's a constantly moving thing. It's a mobile piece of architecture. So, basically just having to consider everything is always going to be flowing toward the gutter. I'm basically just trying to live the life and try to get as level parking as I can, and then really have everything come into an equilibrium. But yeah, where I'm at, it's got a pretty good lean.
Yeah, when I was sleeping in my vehicle or in my my Mercury, that was a big deal to get a flat spot. It's sort of basically like camping. You don't want to camp on a hill, but if you do, you kind of set your bed up at a lean. Or I was, so you're kind of acclimating to the environment, flat wise. You're looking for that sweet flat spot. But like with the
Pretty much, you know, lots of bungee cables, just so many bungee cables. Like a lot of this is not a nuts and bolts operation. You know, dealing with technology nowadays, you know, we've got, well, thank God we're moving into solid state hard drives, but with moving plate hard drives, optical discs, I mean, I don't know, it's been 20 years trying to get a CD on a Walkman going in a car is like a difficult operation.
and you use your generator a lot to pump up the power.
And, you know, introducing LCD screens and, oh yeah, so like this place is fully equipped. Um, got electricity, got solar, got gas power generation, got, you know, keep a couple TVs burning, but they're all mounted through bungee cables. If I hit a bump, you know, I'm on the highway, I hit a speed bump, hit those concrete pads or construction, you know, you never know. A lot of gas stations, even that lean on that sidewalk, just cutting in and everything. It's a lot. It's a lot, especially when you've got, you know, everything connected. So the majority of everything is bungeed down so that it can accommodate the flex and impact of the road.
And how about the wiring with
But
your?
also with tech, you know,
Although the wiring with the battery situation, with the, I know the technology's changed a lot with battery and wiring. Can you give us a little, I don't know, those cliff notes of what that's like to create that? Because I know that a lot of people that want to do what you're doing, be nomadic and off the grid a little bit, and that seems to be an issue that seems to be popping up. The lithium batteries. I'm not. What's the best battery to buy? What's the do's and don'ts of wiring something like this together?
you know, there's a lot of don'ts that I follow, that I do. You know, a lot of everything is, you know, lightweightly installed. There are times where I'm sitting here and I get a whiff of like it's electrical fire. That's insulating plastic rubber around wires that have overheated and needing to just rip into a junction box of electrical tape and remove something safely and quickly. So I haven't used a lot of permanent installation. I haven't used a lot of solder. You know, a lot of it has to do with, you know, this is a moving piece of architecture. It's not a normal 50-foot ground pole driven into the ground every time I park. You know, there isn't a constant ground. I've got this mobile automated thing.
And
The
so,
biggest thing,
oh,
heating and
sorry,
cooling.
continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Electronics, you know, they just, it's okay. There's a little bit of lag through the digital. So, you know, we're doing pretty good with it. The heating, you know, it'll get easily 110 degrees just in here. You know, that's a couple windows open, fans blowing out, maybe cut it down to 95. But it gets hot in here. So, you know, especially running solar, you want to be in the sunlight. Shade spots aren't necessarily the best if you're trying to harvest electricity. And in turning that sunlight into electricity, placing yourself into a hot area, then you got a computer that's going to be wanting low temperatures as well. So if I got a computer 90 degrees running really hot in a room that's like 95, that computer's not going to be cooling down until I turn it off. So, you know, I do a lot of graveyard stuff, just middle of the night, being awake when it's cool out. The technology seems to be less congested. The data traffic for the internet is higher quality, faster speeds. All the electronics in the entire West Coast right now, you know, it's starting to get dark out. You can see the sunlight where you're at. not much of it. Everything's cooling down. The cell phone towers are cooling down. The power poles are cooling down. Just the whole world is a little bit more efficient.
So does so basically I mean, it kind of sounds lame, but might not, but like do the electronics run better when it's colder? Basically, because I use my electronics.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. You talk.
Absolutely, they do. Cooler temperatures are good. The only downside, if you ever grabbed a beer out of the fridge, you cool something down, it'll pick up condensation. Then you got a problem where you're trying to cool electronics, but at a certain point, that massive temperature difference will allow condensation to collect on the electronics. Then you've got a water and electricity situation when you get too cold.
So also how long have you been nomadic? I guess is the doing what you do, creating, and I also want people to be able to get a hold of you for your work for editing and technical support, which you is how you make your living. So if you can tell people how they can, what your areas of expertise are, how they can get a hold of you, your Instagram, da da da.
Yeah. So duct tape go pretty much all over the internet, wherever I'm at. Leaving go tracks. Professionally, digitalsalesandservice.com. I provide media editing services, computer repair services, anything that falls within that umbrella. Um, Music, I've got a link, ducttapegoat.com. It's DUCTTAPEDGOAT. And that'll link you over to the YouTube, which is youtube.com/ducttapegoat. Find me on the twitter.com/ducttapegoat, Instagram, ducttapegoat. Yeah.
Well, is there a common thing that people need your services for that you found that was coming up a lot? What's the most common people coming to you with? Is there a common thread?
A really common thing that people face are problems that other computer techs don't know how to fix, or they're unwilling to fix it. When I started this business like 10 years ago, there was the majority of my customers were, that's the right way to say, they were bringing me older machines that were absolutely fine, but they were told it would cost more to throw the computer away and buy a new one than to repair the computer that they have. And to me, being a computer repair expert, that's not repair, that's computer sales. And a lot of the repair industry just does sales of new computers. And it's really sad. Taking care of digital devices, you could have a camera and load a quarter terabyte size thumbstick in there and record like 3 years worth of family footage and memories. And when you're servicing that device, it's not so much a matter of, oh yeah, we'll pull that card out of there and, maybe sacrifice being able to recover data if something happens to it. But it's like, really, you're not servicing any expert that's just saying throw away the device, get a new device. That's where a lot of problems can introduce themselves that risk that data, and it's never worth the risk. When someone's needing something serviced, this is a large amount of their life. It's those memories that we've been able to store as people, you know, like they are memories.
Oh, your video is
But what
frozen.
we've learned to do so far is store things with technology.
Yeah. You know
We've
what?
learned to store things with technology.
You know what was interesting, and I don't know if other people might find this interesting, but like I did, because I came to you with some cell phones that I couldn't retrieve. Either they're smashed or they look like hell, and they were like beaten up pretty good. But I knew that they still had data on there that I wanted to get. Or and that was sort of like I've never been able to go to somebody and be able to have them do what you did, like you did with a smashed phone, and or it was pretty beaten up. I don't know if it's smashed, but you're able to retrieve those stuff off there, and that was pretty impressive. Was that people aren't asking you for that, or do you? It seems like that would be a big thing for people to try to get or not lose.
Just take a look at your signal over there. I see your signal's on red, but then it pops over to green.
Oh, well,
But locally,
this
it should be
is a very casual show.
Thing.
This is a very casual podcast. As long as we get the information to the people.
It's
So
always
what's the
post.
what's that?
It could be animated.
Yeah, it looks a little anime.
There's always posts, you know, we could turn the whole thing animated, get some filters going on, put some pictures over the stutter.
we could put like the graphics, but we'll keep it very minimal. I want to keep it very stripped down, the show, so people, as long as the information's good and the images are somewhat clean. What do you want to do for your? I mean, 2020 has been a hell of a year for everyone, obviously. What do you? There was actually two questions. I just what's the? How have you been finding this Los Angeles during this time? Like the vibe. What are people doing? I mean, have you noticed you've been living like this for a while, like a nomad, so other people are starting to do that now more and more. What's the general vibe over in LA with everybody? I know the Venice Beach is like a crazy shit show. Does it feel safe out there? I mean, like if somebody's like in Alaska right now, or anybody, what give them a glimpse of life in Los Angeles, just in a nutshell. What you've been seeing, what you've been seeing other people go through, or anything interesting, like any stories at all?
You know, one thing I've noticed is there's been a lot of minor crime increase. I don't think a lot of people are as prepared for this as they would like to be. And I think that's a large struggle of, or I could say it rather this way, that I have lived a lot of my life just in the name of preserving my freedom. You know, that's one of the core foundations of this country. I've never identified toward the United States as being a predominantly capitalist first, family second country. You know, this is a freedom first and family second country, you know, and capitalism and making money and commerce and everything after that is whatever. But at the end of the day, our freedom is so important. So I've done a lot just to preserve the freedom of my life so that I'm able to potentially travel anywhere, go anywhere, do anything. Honest, so I've been doing the van life for about 3 years. About the 2 years, 3 years leading up to that, I was living on a bicycle that I had figured out a way to get a box on wheels behind it, lay on top of that like Snoopy as the Red Baron on the doghouse. You know what I mean? And that was just the skate crash pad. Skate around all day, skateboarding in Venice, and tired, wrecked. Just want to put my feet up and crash, put my feet up on the back of a bicycle, park on a street sign, and, and just sleep. And that seemed to be the best way. Um, I had no in. There were no hindrances. There were very little laws. Like just the potential of what I was able to do gave me the highest opportunity to jump on opportunities as they happen. I ended up actually going from the bike into a nice spot over in Beverly Hills. Was editing on a documentary film for about 8 months, and that was great, you know. And I hate to think that, like, had I been spending the 2,500 a month on an apartment, would I have been able to participate in that type of, creator relationship with other creators, whether in a way that presents a topic and an issue so that other people can learn and understand a little bit more about what's going on in the world around us.
And so you're frozen a little bit, but we're just going to keep on going with it. Hopefully it'll pop back in the real time. There it is. What's like, I know this is a strain. This might be a weird question, but I always like to ask people, do you have any predictions about this, what's going to happen with, I guess, in the next coming year, 2021? Obviously, I'm very excited about 2021 because 2020 has been a shit show. So, do you have any kind of crazy, not crazy, but just what do you think about this going away or coming back? Or is this life how it is? This is just the way we are going to acclimate towards life in COVID, or a coming back of a different strain twice as hard? Or, because everyone's like, I know under another shutdown or lockdown. What do you think? Predictions. We want to see in the crystal ball of Michael Webb.
Thinking if I have any available crystal balls or anything. Not there. Okay.
Your brain
So
crystal ball.
what I do have is this right here. So really, I think a lot of what we've got is a fear pandemic, large amount of government control, trying to control a large amount of the population for reasons that they will not actually disclose to us probably for another 50 years. And that being said, we might not know what's really going on until the CIA and FBI release public information in 50 years when it's no longer classified. And I feel a lot of it is political locally as a nation, that the presidential elections and the current campaigns have had something to do with not only the fear pandemic, but not only the fear pandemic, but how our rights have been in danger in the guise of a medical situation. And it's tough to know. The government, they're known for lying to us, and I try to stay a step ahead. Like, if they are lying to us, what are they really likely trying to cover up? Personally, I think this was likely some type of bioterrorist attack that was intervened on by multiple different government agencies. They were unable to keep it isolated and prevent any outbreak. And now we're having to deal with the results of some type of espionage that went bad. Like, this could have been a virus being developed to be released in 2025. We don't really know, you know. So I think the government I know has been involved in super vaccines for the last 40 years or so, trying to research how they can protect the people from bioterrorist attacks. And the goal of the vaccines seems to be, you know, even if a large amount of the world is at war, spreading biochemical weapon, that we can still be safe from the decisions of other political leaders by maybe getting in a super vaccine that's keeping the people safe. And it just sounds like bad news and dangerous shit. But that's kind of what I think. What I think in the near future, like 2021, which will be in January, I guess.
Yeah, that's a.
It's going to probably be another shutdown, and then it's going to kind of get swept to the wayside until a vaccine is developed, and there's going to be some type of major terrorist organization taking some type of heat, maybe not heat for this situation, but you know, the greater good. Some group is going to go down, and there's going to be a vaccine that hopefully gives us some immunity against these biological weapons that are going on in the rest of the world.
Oh. Well, I guess time will tell on that. Yeah, time will tell. I guess we'll have to just continue doing what we do. And I'm just trying to use my time productively and be proactive as much as possible. That's why I finally put together this Brett's with Friends, because I want to keep on creating and doing stuff. And since we're all isolating, this seems like a no-brainer. So the COVID has ushered in this website or this podcast, and I'm not the only one. Obviously, you know, podcasts were going on for a gazillion. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but now I actually have the time to actually do it, and no excuses not to do it. And I think as long as we can keep communication open, you know, keep the lines of communication open. I mean, really putting this internet into like fifth gear. When when this COVID thing has happened, it's like, okay, let's see what this internet can really do. Because we're sort of like using it at like, you know, a quarter of our brain, you know, use a quarter of your brain or whatever, just a small percentage. And so when this whole thing kind of fell into place, it seems like, oh, this is like, let's really put the 5G in there. Let's open up this internet. Let's see what it's about. What's you know, now everyone's got their own networks, their own TV shows, basically their own television station in their pocket. And it'll be interesting to see what creatively people do with that now that they have their own TV show. And they don't have to go into a brick and mortar to buy anything or to do business. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, I just hope nobody gets hurt. Nobody, everybody remains vigilant and positive and communicative. But we're going to wrap it up here soon. I know 25 minutes goes by pretty fast, and I want to edit together some stuff with this. Is there any, I don't know, give me 1 or 2 minute closer about you and LA and life and creativity, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll edit this together, and I'll shoot it off into the interwebs.
Nice, yeah. So, technology, in my opinion, is replacing spirituality. in our society and our culture.
And so what does that look like? I know that everybody's screen jumping. Between
You
friends and
know,
family, watching everybody screen jump when, and I'm included in that too, from the phone to the computer, we're screen jumpers, screen jumping from one screen to another. And so is that isolating us, or is that where you're talking about the spirituality? Is it becoming us? Is it making us grow more together, or is it separating us? Or I don't know. Was it doing both?
well, as a tribal culture, humanity would pray for people, would have dreams about people, right? And then connect those dreams and those prayers to reality. And what's happened is we've kind of taken that and recreated it in this form of digital media and social media. So I think it's kind of interesting how spirituality, which has often been scoffed at, you know, really as a metaphysical thing has been brought to be this very physical, real thing. And at the rate that humanity has adopted it, I think it says good things that people are yearning for a higher spirituality, that we know we should be able to connect with people in this way. And this is the best that we've done so far. So I think it says good things, in a world where a lot of people seem to be, missing some spirituality in their lives. And now we've got this huge opportunity to take a look at physically. This is what a lot of people have been talking about, prophesying about for years. And, no longer is it a crystal ball. Now it's Google in my pocket on my Android phone. So I think it's great. I think it's got people yearning to learn and as well create, that people are so willing to just educate themselves on something new. You don't need to pass a physical and pass a test to get into a school that has ownership rights over the books and the students who wrote the essays about the article. We can just access that information, and freedom of information has really done a lot, allowing people to communicate and express themselves and share their knowledge with other people. And I think a lot of that is where spirituality has met in this physical realm, where, we're pushing ourselves in education, we're expanding our network to include way more people than we've ever had before. And at the same time, it creaks open the door just a little bit for some acceptance when that metaphysical spirituality comes to play. When something supernatural happens, we've got something to compare it to. Instead of me comparing this digital world to the astral plane, people might 10 years from now be comparing the astral plane to the internet of 2010. And it's kind of cool. It gives me hope that you know as humanity, our culture is going to be able to evolve and learn through this.
Yeah,
But
I
as
just
far
want
as
to see.
creating,
Oh,
I
sorry.
think I hope everybody is just able to keep creating and you know keep thinking freely and trying to express and learn and share that information with other people. That's the best thing we can do is to be creating and to live your life like it's on record all the time. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's brought everybody into a now moment for sure. Like every day, literally, is a new day. Like if you really feel it, like in the now. And when we live in the now, you
Yeah.
know, being present. I mean, we're sort of being forced to do that. You could bypass and just sit around and eat fucking food all day and just get fat, or you can actually do something with all this crazy time you now have to do things that you always want to do. So what that looks like, I don't know. It's a pretty exciting sort of thing. But I just feel bad for the animals. I want the animals to be okay. I want the whales to be okay. I want the giraffes. I want the lions. I want the dogs and the coyotes and the mountain lions. As we coalesce with the natural outside world, as the streets open up with less people on it, the animals are coming down from the mountains. I really care about the animals a lot, and the humans are great too. I don't want to see people dying on the sidewalk. Nobody wants to see that. But we have to acclimate. The thing about being humans is one of the reasons why we've survived so far so long, and the way we done it is our embeddability. Like people can prosper and grow and stay alive in some of the most harshest conditions because we're able to be embedded, embed ourselves into an area, wear clothing that accepts that, that makes you allows you to live in that area, where like 100 years ago you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd be dying of any various amount of like infections or whatever. So I mean, it's crazy. It's only been 100. I mean, 100. If you look back at 100 years ago, and that's only been 100 years ago. God, I mean, that's like 1920s. And I mean, look how much it's crazy.
I mean, the 1920s, that's about 6 generations between the 1920s and now, from the 1920s to the 1950s to the 1980s to 2010s, or what is that, 3? So we're coming up on like generation 4. So it's only been 3 generations since the 20s. That's about 100 years.
Wow.
They say a generation is roughly 30 years, 30 years.
Wow. Well, all right. Well, this is our show. That's it. I think we hit the mark time-wise. We might went over a little bit, but just remind the people out there real quick how they can get a hold of you, where they can find you, and then we'll wrap this second episode up.
Absolutely. So find me at ducttapegoat.com. I'll take you straight over to my YouTube. You can find me over on the Instagram or the Twitter. You search Google, that's a good way to find it. You said it earlier, Duct Tape Goat. You also said every day is a new day. That's actually a single that I released like 4 years ago. Feel free to check that out or drop it into your post edit. Every day is a new day by Duct Tape Goat. Every few years I push it into the Spotify and try to get it playing in your department stores everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and also, so thank you, Mr. Michael Webb, Duct Tape Goat. Amazing. Thank you for being and participating in this interview. If you guys want to find more out about me, Brett Woods, you can go to my brettwoods.com. I'm also Brett Woods 22. That's BRETT WOODS 22 on Instagram. But please check out the films. Michael helped me edit some of those that are on there, and there's more to come. This is just the beginning. 2020. 2021. Oh, wait. So, cheers, man. Thanks a bunch, and you have a good night over there in LA, all right?
Absolutely. Here's the 2222 when I'm up.
2122. Cheers. I'll cheers to that. Cheers. 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 Help us. All right. Catch you guys later. Bye-bye. So that's it. So I'm gonna